Good morning, this is a short screencast explaining how to set up Shopify navigation. So there are a couple of different methods for nesting menu items inside Shopify navigation. If I open up my menus here, I've got a vanilla store. I haven't really configured anything inside the store yet, so all I'm doing is just experimenting with the navigation. First up, you'll notice there is this main menu. This tends to be the pivot menu for most of the things in the site, and generally when people are creating menus, what I've noticed is that store owners will go to the main menu and they'll start creating their menu items here, which is a completely acceptable way of doing it. So I'm going to start creating a few menu items. These are going to become the basis for my categories, and I'm just going to link them all to the homepage for now because this is just a demonstration. Normally I would link them through to collections and create a proper category hierarchy, but for now we're just going to go with something basic. So I'll create one for photography, I'll create one for technology, and it needs to have a link, so let's just again assign that to the homepage, and then one more in here for mobile phones. So with those three items, I've put them all in at the root level. And if I save this and go back to the categories uncomplicated app, so I'll just jump into apps, categories uncomplicated, and in this tab, I'll leave the navigation open. So in here, I've got a view of my categories so far, and these categories are based on that menu navigation, the Shopify navigation. Now, it absolutely doesn't matter whether the categories I'm using are going to be used as part of categories uncomplicated or breadcrumbs uncomplicated. It really doesn't matter which of the uncomplicated apps you're using. They all work in the same way when it comes to Shopify navigation. So here, if I refresh the category list, I'm not going to save it, you'll notice that the category list on the left-hand side here will update. And here we can see those new menu items have been created. Now what I've got is a very flat list here, and if I were to create a big store with perhaps 40 or 50 categories in it, it would very quickly become unmanageable because they're all in one list. What I want to be able to do is nest those categories underneath one another. So if I go back into my navigation, back into my main menu, the easiest possible way is to simply drag these items. So if I say that underneath technology I want to place mobile phones, I drag the item, and when I drag it in, can you notice how here it's got the little blue circle on the left hand side right up against the left hand edge? That's the menu items ledge for these first level categories. If I drag it in, it indents. So now if I let that go, it's actually put mobile phones as a sub item of technology. Also, it's added this option so that I can add more sub items of technology. So if I click a new menu item in here, and call, say, computers under technology as well. For now, again, just linking to the homepage. Click add, and crucially save. Then this will now save this menu with fewer first level categories and instead some second level categories. If I go back to my store, I refresh, you'll notice here that I have a password protected store, which is why it's asking me for the storefront password. When I'm refreshing, if I had a normal store, it would just have a refresh button here on the right hand side. But now in our category list, you can see over here on the right hand side, I've got some nested menu items. And this is a very effective method. I can continue to create these nested menu items. Perhaps I want to say that under mobile phones, I want to have smartphones. So I'll create a menu item for smartphones, homepage, add. I can drag that in as well so that it indents in there. So now I've got smartphones underneath mobile phones. Perhaps in here I want to have smart watches under mobile phones. I suppose a smartwatch isn't technically a mobile phone, but for the sake of this demonstration it will do. And the same pattern I can follow. So if I click save, I go back to my store, I click refresh again until it didn't ever save that. I don't need to remember that password. Then it's going to refresh the category list, and on the right hand side we're going to see 3 levels of nesting. So first level categories, second level categories, mobile phones and computers, and third level categories. Now if I go back into my store and I create another menu item, perhaps something like iPhones, or maybe iPhones, and again for now I'll link that to the home page, add. Then I can drag that, but notice how it won't go in, it goes grey. So when I drag it around normally it's blue, and that allows me to reposition it. When I'm actually trying to drag it in though to indent it underneath smartphones, it doesn't work. And that's because there is a limitation within this menu system that Shopify have designed that only allows you to have these 3 levels of categories. So first level categories, second level categories like mobile phones and computers, and third level categories. When I try to create this 4th level of category, it won't do it. But this is not the only way in which we can create categories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that menu item. I'm going to just check that I've saved my menu. It doesn't need saving because it's in a state that it was before, so it's already been saved. And I'm going to return to the top level navigation page. So we've currently got 2 menus, and it's our main menu that has many nested items in it. Remember, in that main menu, one of those nested items was called smartphones. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new menu. So I'm creating a new top level menu here, and I'm going to give this menu the name smartphones. Notice how this name is exactly the same as the menu item from that other menu. Because it's exactly the same, if I show you that is not exactly the same, 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 it has to be exactly the same. But if it is exactly the same, Shopify will treat it as a link between the two. So here I've got a menu called smartphones. I can add a menu item in here to say iPhones, as I did before. I can add that. I can add a menu item in here to say Android phones. Again, I'll link that to the home page and add. And now if I save that menu, we'll go back to Shopify navigation and we will have an extra menu. So we've got our main menu, which is the one we've been working in up to this point, and we've got the smartphones menu, which is a little satellite menu. The nice thing though about this is that because our main menu has an item in here, smartphones, which exactly matches the name of another menu title, when we go back into our app and refresh it, then what we're going to see on the right hand side here is a 4th level of menu item. And this is the mechanism by which we can extend Shopify beyond the limitations of that that first screen we looked at, that menu, that nested menu creator. So what we've got here is our first level categories like photography and technology. We've got second level categories, mobile phones, computers, and then we've got a third level which we had before, smartphones and smartwatches, but now a 4th level, iPhones and Android phones. And that 4th level is only enabled by the fact that we created a smartphones menu. The nice thing about this too is that if I go into smartphones, I can carry on nesting in here. So within Android phones, if I want to create a category dedicated to Samsung, I'll create that and then drag that in. I've got normal nesting characteristics. So here we have Samsung Android phones. I might also want to create a link in here for Sony Android phones and click Save Menu. So this is still the same smartphones menus we had before. It's got a little bit more to it now because it too has some first level categories, phones and iPhones and Android phones. And now we've added in here second level categories, Samsung and Sony. When I go back to the store and I refresh this, then what we're going to see now is that as well as having our first, second, third and 4th menu items, we've also got 5th level menu items, namely Samsung and Sony. So first level, second level, third level, 4th level, 5th level. And using this pattern, we're able to use Shopify navigation to create multiple levels of navigation. So I hope it's been clear. We've talked about two different ways there of creating menu items. The easiest, simplest way of creating the menu items and nesting those menu items to start with is to simply create them all inside a single menu. When you want to take it beyond the limitations of this widget, then you can do that by creating a menu item with the exact same name as a menu title, and by having that we can then create further levels of navigation. So I hope that's been useful. If you have any questions, please click Get Support in the app, and I wish you the best of luck with your store.